Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome back to Let's Make a Mini, the series where I'll be taking some of our favourite characters from the world of TV, movies, video games, comic books, all that good stuff, and making them as TTRPG minifigures right here on Hero Forge. Yes, indeed. Now, last week was the Video Game Awards. I was watching live with a couple of friends, and very early on in the stream, they made a big announcement, which is the latest member of the Smash Ultimate roster. It came completely out of left field as they announced Sephiroth from Final Fantasy. Huge announcement, everyone was very hyped, understandably, for it. He is an iconic figure, so I figured what better time than to make him as a minifigure here on Hero Forge. Very excited to do this one. As I say, he is an iconic character. There's not too much special that we need to do with this build in terms of like outside of the box stuff, but it is going to be an exciting one to make. I think we can get quite an accurate version of him. So without further ado, let's make a mini. So, starting off, human male, as is our usual thing. As with many, I want to give him the very blank expression. He is a very stoic-faced character. We are, of course, going to have to change the hair. That's very important. First, straight off the bat, we do want to change that. He does not have short hair. He has long, flowing hair. And I think this one is going to be our best bet. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, we could go with this sort of wavy one. In fact, ooh, we actually might do. No, it's not really long enough. We want it to be quite a long hairstyle. Straight and long is going to be the way. I mean, there's this long wavy one, but that's got it's got a little too much volume for my liking. And the straight one with that is not quite right. And I think there's not much else that we can choose from for this one. So we are going to go with this long unbraided hair, and I think that's going to be absolutely fine. In terms of the bodywork, there's really not much else we need to change. It's just the hair that we need to do for Sephiroth. So now we can get into the fun stuff, the clothing, the gear, the colours, all that fun stuff. So, looking at what we are going to make him wear, nothing on the head or neck. For the chest, we do want to do some stuff. They have some new stuff. Hero Forge have introduced this collared shirt, and most recently this Starship Captain's jacket, so we can actually look into some more space-themed characters for the future. In terms of Sephiroth, though, we actually want to use some armour. And the one I have in mind is one that we don't get to use very often, but I think the effect here is going to be very nice. The one I have in mind for this is quite far down the list. Past all these ones, it is around here somewhere. He says, not being able to see it. It's this one, yes, the Blackguard chest piece. It is quite nice here because there's something about it that looks quite wicked and ominous, which is going to work very nicely for our boy Sephiroth. In terms of the gloves, we are going to use some gloves that we used very often in the past. It's the Mechanics Work gloves, once again, are back. Which again seems a bit odd, but it's going to be the nice colour scheme that I'm looking at my reference pick for, and I think that's going to work very nicely. Now, in terms of the legs, we're going to get to use one of my excuse me, one of my favourite items of leg wear, which is going to be the Bard's pants. Weirdly enough, that's going to get a nice sort of flowing look to it. In terms of the feet, we want him to be wearing some boots. Some tall boots are going to do very nicely, and again, I do have some in mind, and it's actually going to be these ones, the riding boots. We're not going to use the straight ones. We want there to have this kind of little bit here that I quite like, this kind of V shape, which I think is going to play nicely. It's also going to allow us to get a little bit of different colouring in there. Not much, but enough. And one thing we are going to be able to do here, actually, is give him some shoulder items. We don't get to use this very often, these kind of pauldrons. We do have these new ones, the Cleric shoulder pads, which are scaled, which we're not going to use, but it's nice that they've introduced them. We could have the Blackguard ones, but they're a bit too jagged. We just basically want a kind of two-piece shoulder item. So these ones could be good, but they're not quite right. The ones I have in mind are a little bit bigger and a little bit further down, and that is going to be these, the Tactical Armour shoulder pads, weirdly enough. These are exactly what I'm looking for. They're big enough to be noticed, but they're still quite flush with the shoulder, which I want. No cloak on here, but realistically that's all we need to do in terms of clothing. We are going to get started on the colouring now. We're going to add some other stuff in later on. So, moving on to the colour. Now, Sephiroth has quite pale skin, and we're actually going to be able to make it even paler. We do want to, of course, change the hair. Now, he has, of course, white hair, but just going platinum is going to look a bit odd for my liking. What I actually want is something a little grayer, so possibly this, possibly this one. That's actually not too bad. We might have to change it up a little bit. That's a bit too grey. Let's see what, maybe this one. No, that's too dark. Let's try this. We'll edit this down a little bit. Let's go into the mix and do that now, actually, really quickly. So this one we're going to lighten. Very nice. The skin tone as well, I do want to make lighter as well. And possibly, no, we'll keep the lips as they are. This is actually going to work quite nicely because Sephiroth does have green eyes, so we can just keep them as they are. Now, one thing I am going to do, as you can see, this is a full chest piece. We're actually going to make this part of the chest piece the same colour. So before, when we did Simon Belmont, we made some of his clothing the skin tone to make it look like it was just organically skin instead. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to have a little bit of an open neck going on with him as much as we can. So with that done, now we're going to move on to the rest of the bodywork. And we're mainly working in sort of greys, blacks and dark blues. So, metal first. Actually, no, we don't want metal. We want leather. We want this rogue black leather for the majority, actually, of what he's going to be wearing. So, looking at it, I think something like this is going to be nice. We'll make much of the back this colour as well. All of this stuff here is going to be this rogue black, as it's called. And that weirdly changes the colours here, but that's actually fine. All of these ridges I want to be the black leather. Very nice. A little bit fiddly in there, but we can just about make it. And that should be good. The hand part of the glove is going to be that colour as well. What else do we want to be black? Probably this and the boot as well. Yeah, looking at it, I think that's okay. We might go back and add some more black in here and there. But for the most part, that's okay. So now we're going to add in some blues. Scrolling all the way down to here, I kind of want this one, I think. I mean, we'll try... yeah, that's too light. That's pretty good. So let's add this in. Belt will be blue. This part will be blue. The trousers. Yeah, let's make them blue as well. I think we've got most of him. I'm just doing a bit of a workaround to see if there's any parts I've missed. I don't think there is. It looks like parts of these aren't the right colour, but that's actually going to buff out quite nicely. And for the most part, I think that is all the blue we need. Looking at my reference, yeah, I think that'll do. For the rest of it, what we want are metals, really. In fact, actually, there's one little bit that we do want to add in, just for a little bit of kind of accenting. We're going to go with maybe something like this. I just want a little bit of different colouring on parts of the boot. If I can find an appropriate colour. That's not bad. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Little difficult to make sure we're getting everything in there. And this one around there, and we'll do the base of the shoe in that colour as well, if we can actually get there. Oh, I've gone a bit too far. There we go. I think that'll do. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay. So that's pretty much all the leather work done. Now we're going to add some metal in, and we want to work with two different greys here. The grey that most often gets defaulted is this one, the grey that never comes, but I also want a lighter one, so I'm going to use this and this. So, as we can see, for parts of it, we're going to be using this grey. Not bad. Not bad at all. And for the rest of it, actually I might just make this part that grey as well, and for the rest of it we want to use this lighter chrome. So this is going to be that chrome, and this part of the glove as well. And already you can see it starting to come together. We'll make that part as well. So we've got a little bit of accenting with colours going on there, different greys, and that will play in a little bit later as well. Not too much more we need to do on his bodywork. So now let's get some base in there. We can mess with colours in the base to make it a little bit more Sephiroth, a little bit more sort of end of the worldy. So let's do that. Let's sort out the base now. I'm aware this is going to be probably a slightly shorter video. I mean, we're only about 11 minutes. So let's get some stonework going. We're going to use varieties of this. I think this one will look better. We're going to make the entire base the same colour, and what we want to get here is this idea of kind of the ground erupting up, which I quite like. You know, Sephiroth is a bringer of despair and evil, so that is going to play very nicely indeed. So, what else do we need on Sephiroth? Well, we don't need to do too much with the base items. We are going to add a couple in here and there. And I like the idea of using, we've got some horseshoes, some acorns that we could use. Those are new, which is quite nice. I do quite like the idea of adding the smoke effect in. It just means we can add a little bit more colour to it. So what I want to do is get in with that stonework once again. This time I think I want to use something a little darker for the little ones. But we can add some other colours in to the top. I don't know if I want the red. The red's not bad. I'm just going to play around with this one and see if it's the brown's a little bit too muted. The green definitely won't work. That's not bad. Yeah, I quite like that. Because now we've got a little bit more of a kind of flame effect coming up through the smoke, which I quite like. So, only a couple more things to add really. One of the most iconic things about Sephiroth is his sword. He has just the longest katana in the world. We can get quite close with it. There are varying lengths of katana. As you can see, we've got a couple of new Kickstarter things here with some muskets, which we won't be using. These various axes, which we won't be using. A Molotov cocktail, which we certainly won't be using. And a scythe, which I have an idea for something way, way, way down the line, but not today. What we're going to use is his longsword. So, here we go with the longsword. As you can see, we've got this katana, but further down, we're going to have something which I believe is called a nodachi, which is the even longer version of the katana. So further down, further down, further down, further down, further down, and here it is, the nodachi. Now we're going to put it in his left hand because Sephiroth is actually left-handed, according to, you know, everything I've seen. So let's get some colour on that. Obviously going to the metal, I kind of want his blades to be quite shiny, so we're going to use the shinier metal for that, and then this part can be the lighter grey. The kind of the hand guard is a little bit of a different colour. Not gold. Rust works quite well actually. We'll do that. And then I think I'll just go, I kind of want to go with that rogue black, but I also at the same time kind of want something a bit different. Let's see. What have we got here? Let's see. What do we have? I could go with this. and just turn it down towards the black end of things. I think I'll do that. Yeah, that's nice. It's a very, very deep black, which I quite like on this. As you can see, it's very long. But we'll edit the pose at some point. Now, what's the final thing we need to add? Well, there is a very iconic aspect of Sephiroth, which is kind of ties in with the title of his theme music. It's one of the most iconic themes going, which is the One-Winged Angel, which any non-gamer person or someone who hasn't played Final Fantasy will still probably recognise. Sephiroth does have that one wing, so if we go onto body, click on wings and unlink them. On the other side, we don't want it to be that one, really. I think we want this one. That's a much better wing, because that's just a little bit too big and it's pointing up the wrong way. I want it to be kind of splayed out as this one is. So we're going to do that. Now if we go on to colour again, and we head over to the hair, we can make this two-tone. We definitely want some black in there at the top. And I quite like the idea of having it fade into blue to match the rest of his colour scheme. That's going to look really good. So that's that. We don't need any extraneous gear on his person. That's as much as we need to do really with Sephiroth. The last thing we want to do is sort out his pose, and we just want a kind of open battle ready stance. So the one I'm going to go with is the one I normally use to pose for painting, which is this one. It's called Come At Me Bro, and we will edit that a little bit. One thing I want to do is actually just make him that little bit cocky, because he always seems to be a bit cocky when Cloud is incoming to try and attack him. So we're going to rock with that. I actually kind of want the sword pointing downwards if I can, and we should be able to do that. I'm going to edit this hand pose because I don't really like it. Let's see if there's a better one than that. That's not too bad. This is obviously just window dressing. This is unnecessary, but I just like the effect. That's not bad. This relaxed pose is quite good. The beg one, that doesn't seem appropriate to Sephiroth. Let's be real. I think this one is going to be the one we go with, this relaxed hand pose. So now let's mess around with the body. So if we twist the shoulder down a little bit, yeah, I quite like the look of where we're going with this. Moving it a little bit, that's a bit too far. Let's scoot it here. And then we can try messing with the wrist, because I want the sword pointing downwards, if at all possible. So we'll have it sort of to here. Bend it. We don't want too much of a tilt. We do want him to twist and bend. That's not too bad at all. It's not clipping too much. I think we just want to untwist that shoulder a little bit, just so it's definitely not clipping through. And we will try and mimic that on the other side as well. Just to be sure, the elbow will move down a little bit, just a touch. It is ever so slightly clipping into the wing, which I'd like to avoid if at all possible. Tilt and bend a little bit, bend it forward. And that, I think, will do quite nicely. Oh, there's a bit of clipping there that I don't want. Let's edit that real quick. Oh, not that one. Perhaps this one? It is this one. Lovely. We just want to move it back a little bit, and we'll twist it so that it's definitely not clipping with his clothing. Again, as I say, this is window dressing. We don't need to do this. But that, I think, is as good approximation of Sephiroth as we're going to get. So we're going to wrap that up there and take a quick little tour of Sephiroth. So as you can see, we've got the pale skin, the pale hair, the green eyes. This part is looking quite natural as well. Certainly if you don't like stare too much and zoom in too much. I like the two-tone that we've got with the metals going. We don't get to do that very often. Moving around, he's got this very sort of open, battle-ready pose. The wing is there, which is nice, just that one wing. It clips a little bit into the hair. There's nothing we can really do about that, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter. The rest of the clothing is pretty accurate. All the stuff at the base is, as I say, it's window dressing. And the sword, importantly, is there and is as long as we can make it. So that is going to be Sephiroth wrapped up. So thank you all very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of this one, and of course let me know if there are any characters you want to see me make as minifigures. Put them down in the comment section below or hit me up on Twitter. You can always catch me there. Both of my Twitter links will be in the description of this video, along with a link to Hero Forge, the site that I'm using to make these minis. You'll also see it in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. It is my go-to for making D&D minifigures. I highly recommend you check it out. As I've been mentioning with all these videos, every day of December they are adding a new item or gear or clothing. Something is being added every single day, along with their Treasure Trove Tuesdays as the regular thing. They're always adding new stuff. It's very exciting. I highly recommend you check them out. The other thing I recommend to check out is the final link in the description, which is the series that inspired this one, Tulok the Barbarian's building character. But that's going to wrap things up for me. I've rambled on far too long. So my final thank you to you all for watching. And I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.